we haven't had too many questions yet, so I've put together a couple of questions of my own to pose whilst other questions are coming in. The question I would pose to you, Peter, is do you see COVID-19 having a lasting impact on the design and maintenance of ventilation systems with consequences for energy use and indoor comfort? And maybe other presenters might want to comment on that.
Yeah, it's difficult to let's say estimate the overall impact, but I think there will be a lasting impact. We see now in many countries that there is more awareness of, let's say, ventilation in buildings. You see strong increase in the interest for CO2 metering. I think quite a lot of people will observe that the ventilation system is not working as it is assumed. It's clear that this kind of problems can come again in the future. So I believe that it will, first of all, I think, increase the awareness of the role of ventilation. I also expect that the number of cases among, let's say, but also I think among professional people and also the policymakers, that today a lot of ventilation systems are not performing as they should perform. So hopefully it will also lead to more awareness about the quality of the work. And I can also imagine that there will be more thinking about how can we make robust systems in case similar problems would occur again in the future. So I really think that there will be a lasting impact, but how strong it will be, that's difficult to guess.
Okay. I don't know whether you want to have any thoughts on that, Carsten, or?
Carsten, you are muted there. Carsten, you are muted.
Oh, you're not muted, but we can't hear you. Right, that's a slight problem. Carsten, we seem to have lost your microphone. It appears you're not muted, but we can't hear you. So, okay, well, whilst Carsten is sorting out the technical glitch, Professor Zhu, I've got a question that I would like. Well, there is a question for you, first of all, which is a straightforward question, and that is it possible to point people to the SCAT thermal comfort database? Is that linked from the website or something?
Oh, I cannot catch your meaning because.
Can you see the question that is on the screen?
No, too small.
Too small. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can increase the size.
Yeah, increase size, amplify it.
Okay.
Oh.
This one.
Oh, okay. You mean here now?
Well, no. I mean, I guess they're asking, is it available? And
SCAT is available. Yeah.
It is.
You know, in the European standard, the adaptive thermal comfort model of a European standard is a use of SCAT thermal comfort database.
Okay. Okay, so we've got a general question. Let me just ask you this, first of all. So the IEA Future of Cooling report that came out just last year suggests that over the next 3 decades, we're set to see soaring demand for air conditioning. And I wonder to what extent you think that's inevitable, or whether adaptive thermal comfort approaches might be able to limit that. And if they are, which countries and what building types?
Yeah. In fact, to feel the cooling will be the big problem. In fact, in China, we feel it's a very severe problem. Maybe European can think in next years. And in many countries in the hot climate, will consume more energy in cooling. So that is why here I mentioned about PCS. PCS can reduce energy consumption for cooling significantly. So that is why we focus on it. The second is for natural ventilation building. Get the adaptive type of the building with more adaptive opportunities to reduce the cooling energy consumption. Because heating is easier to solve the heating problem. Insulation tight, airtight is okay, but for cooling is in fact is more difficult than heating.
Just for PCS for the moment, then there are limitations for PCS in terms of maybe offices, sedentary activity. It wouldn't work, you know. Is it suitable in the home? Is it suitable in industrial work?
PCS can be used for everywhere. In fact, in China, we use PCS quite widely used in our home. As how to say, radiator, small radiator, electric radiator, and I think in the future we will do some technical invention, just like electric coloring. I think that's a very promising technology. PCS for cooling.
Okay, thank you.
So your variable air conditioning maybe in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Carsten, have you got your microphone back?
I have tried. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, I'm really sorry. It should have been on all the time. But my answer, both in combination to your first question to Peter and also the question posed to me, is I think an enhanced need for paradigms and implementation of demand-controlled ventilation. And that I've talked in my speech about the balance between energy and also the pollutants and these things. I did not use the word demand-controlled ventilation, but that's really where it should all lead. But then also considering COVID-19, I think that's yet another parameter that we must consider in this demand control paradigms that we must have. So in general, I think it leads to more need for intelligence in these controls. And that points again to our new Annex 86, as I mentioned, where we're going to use all these possibilities in a more intelligent manner. So I think that's a little bit a combined answer to those questions. And I hope that you heard this.
Thank you, Carsten. That's great. Peter,
okay, thanks, Paul.
Peter, a question has come in for you, which is, do you think working from home will assist in occupant behavior regards comfort? Do you think there may be an increase in awareness of this aspect?
Can you repeat? I didn't understand very well.
Yeah, can you see the question on the screen? It's being shared, this one here.
Okay, yeah. I'm not so sure. For me, the question is not 100% clear. What is the precise?
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Is it meant will increase the awareness of occupant behavior regarding comfort?
I don't know, because that's the question as it was posed. Maybe you can just do your best to interpret it.
Well, I think that my impression is that the worker normally, I think, has higher expectations about the indoor climate at an office place than at his home, because at his home, let's say, basically it's no responsibility. So in that sense, I believe that the expectations regarding indoor climate, I imagine, are higher with respect to the working place than at home. But I'm not an expert in this kind of study, but my guess would be that people will at home more easily accept less optimal indoor climate conditions as it is their own place.
Okay, thank you for that. There were a couple more questions. There's a general question here, very interesting research questions and projects. My question for all of you is, do you know specifically which groups make use of your research, and how do you gather this info? So I'm going to take that rather than pass it out to everybody else. We have some awareness of which groups use our information through the national participants in the executive committee, because they are responsible for disseminating in individual countries. But we also collect statistics, obviously, on the numbers of downloads of reports and the extent to which websites are visited. So we have a reasonable view of the dissemination and where the reports end up. And occasionally we obviously know where reports or where the research has led through to the establishment of standards, for instance. So there are a number of annexes where we can show a chain of events from the research in the annex through to a standard being established. So one more general question, and I think we might have to hold. So the building and development sector is extremely competitive and also rely on local policies and interests. How can we make sure that the very best research ideas will be put into practice in a best practice approach and will not be hampered by a lack of knowledge? Well, that is a very general and big question.
But I think that there should be a competition on using this advanced knowledge that we are providing, and since it has links to so many things that we have discussed already about health issues and comfort issues, I think it's going to be a true competition parameter that our stakeholders can show that they're using our results. And I think the AIVC is doing a very good job in communicating this. So I think and you have many members of reading your outputs, Peter. So I think it's coming, or it has been. It's improving.
Yeah, Professor, I can also add something. If I look to the areas of air tightness and ventilation, but energy efficiency in general, I think it's clear that the building regulations are a major driver and are also creating a level playing field. So if I look, for example, to ventilation, we see very different, or let's say, quite substantial difference in markets, because industry and designers try to, let's say, offer systems in line with the legislation. So therefore, I think it's important that the ideas generated, for example, by IBC and other annexes, I would say, are well reflected in regulations. And then it's, I think, a question of, the market has to meet the specifications. In the context also, I think everything regarding compliance and control is important. There's also within IEDC, we have had quite a number of activities dealing with compliance checks. How do you come to quality control? And I think that's, to my opinion, very important to create a correct level playing field for industry. I think can be a major driver for innovation if well done. Of course, if the legislation is poorly done, then it's a major barrier for innovation.
Okay, thank you. I think we are going to have to move on because we need to move to the next session. I just want to encourage people to put questions as they think of them in the Q&A section and to make them to all presenters so that we can all see the questions. That would be very helpful.